Verse number 7. Devahuteruvacha Nirvinnanitaram bhuman Nirvinnanitaram bhuman Asad indriya tarshana Asat indriya tarshana Yena sambhavyamanena Yena sambhavyamanena Prapannandham tamah prabho Prapannandham tamah prabho Devahuteruvacha Nirvinnanitaram bhuman Asad indriya tarshana Yena sambhavyamanena Prapannandham tamah prabho Devahuteruvacha Nirvinnanitaram bhuman Asadindriya tarshana Yena sambhavyamanena Prapannandham tamah prabho. Word to word meaning. Devahuti vacha. Devahuti said. Nirvinna, disgusted. Nitaram, very. Bhuman, O my Lord. Asat, impermanent. Indriya, of the senses. Tarshanat, from agitation. Yena, by which. Sambhavyama, Sambhavyama nena, being prevalent. Prapanna, I have fallen. Andham, Andham tamaha, into the abyss of ignorance. Prabho, O my Lord. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Devahuti said, I am very sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses. For because of this sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance. Purport. Here the word Asat Indriya Tarshanat is significant. Asat means impermanent, temporary, and Indriya means senses. Thus, Asat Indriya Tarshanat means from being agitated by the temporarily manifest senses of the material body. We are evolving through different statuses of material bodily existence. Sometimes in a human body, sometimes in an animal body, and therefore the engagements of our material senses are also changing. Anything which changes is called temporary or asat. We should know that beyond these temporary senses are our permanent senses, which are now covered by the material body. The permanent senses, being contaminated by matter, are not acting properly. Devotional service, therefore, involves freeing the senses from this contamination. When the contamination is completely removed and the senses act in the purity of unalloyed Krishna consciousness, we have reached Sadindriya, or eternal sensory activities. Eternal sensory activities are called devotional service, whereas temporary sensory activities are called sense gratification. Unless one becomes tired of material sense gratification, there is no opportunity to hear transcendental messages from a person like Kapila. Devahuti expressed that she was tired. Now that her husband had left home, she wanted to get relief by hearing the instructions of Lord Kapila. So here we are reading the 25th chapter, entitled The Glories of Devotional Service, wherein Devahuti will be asking, it has just begun in this verse, she'll be asking Lord Kapila to instruct her about devotional service. And that's how this chapter is entitled, The Glories of Devotional Service. In verse 6, it is mentioned that Devahuti remembered the words of Brahma who had spoken to her. What was those words of Brahma? In the previous chapter, Brahma had come and spoken to Devahuti as follows. There are 2 verses. Lord Brahma then told Devahuti, "My dear daughter of Manu," Devahuti was the daughter of Manu, married to Kardama Muni, and Lord Kapila was their son. So Lord Kapila had come specifically to instruct his mother and to all of us in general about the glories of devotional service. So Lord Brahma then told Devahuti, "My dear daughter of Manu, the same Supreme Personality of Godhead who killed the demon Kaitaba is now within your womb. He will cut off all the knots of your ignorance and doubts. Then he will travel all over the world." And he further said, "Your son will be the head of all the perfected souls," referring to Lord Kapila. "He will be approved by the acharyas, expert in disseminating real knowledge, and among the people he will be celebrated by the name Kapila. As the son of Devahuti, he will increase your fame." So here, Lord Brahma told Devahuti that he will cut off all the knots of your ignorance and doubts. So, in this verse, Devahuti remembers those words of Lord Brahma, and as Lord Brahma had spoken, she begins asking Kapila about spiritual life. And so in this verse, it says, Devahuti says, "I'm very sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses. And because of this sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance." So Devahuti is saying she has fallen into the abyss of ignorance. Abyss means deep or a deep dark hole. Imagine if you fall into a deep dark hole, just like Prabhupada sometimes says, material life means it's like fallen into a deep dark well. And no matter how much you try to cry or shout, you will not be relieved. That is for those who are completely absorbed in material life, having no understanding of what is spiritual life, what is Krishna consciousness. So she says, "I've fallen into a deep dark hole of ignorance." or in darkness, in other words. So this material world, Krishna is certifying it's dukkhalayam ashasvatam. It is a world of darkness. There are two types of darkness. Number one, what is the darkness in this material world? Ignorance. No knowledge. Darkness of knowledge. And because people have no knowledge and this material world by nature is constituted that it's a world full of ignorance, birth, death, old age, disease, we are considered to have fallen into this abyss of ignorance. And the first kind of ignorance or the darkness that prevails all over the world is lack of the simple understanding that I am not the body, I am spirit soul. This is the first ignorance that is covering everyone in this world, everyone in this material world. That is why when Arjuna first refused to fight, what was Arjuna in? He was in darkness, he was in ignorance. And what was the first instruction that Krishna gave? Dehinosmin yatha dehi. He started talking about the signs of soul. So this, unless and until we come out of this understanding that I am not the body, I am spirit, soul, and I will never be destroyed, it is very difficult to progress further. That's why if you see Prabhupada, if you take out all the different kinds of talks that Prabhupada gave, apart from speaking about Krishna and Krishna's pastimes and the wonderful things about Krishna that Prabhupada spoke, probably the maximum things that he would have spoken will be about soul, body and soul, the knowledge of body and soul. Because this is the basic ignorance that we all have, and it's very important to come out of this. Krishna is saying so clearly, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. When this body is destroyed, this hanyamane na hanyate means for the self, it will not destroy. Arjuna's whole ignorance was, he was thinking that all of them will die and they will cease to exist. And that's why Krishna spoke this Bhagavad Gita, do not worry, none of us will cease to exist. We will all continue to live eternally, forever. Just like if I give up my shirt, when the shirt is old and I give it up, it is destroyed. Am I destroyed? Is my body destroyed? No, my body is living. I have no qualms. I have no such thing, oh, why my shirt is getting destroyed. In the same way, when this body is destroyed, that is at death, it's only the body which gets destroyed or the body that ends, the soul just takes on another body. So we were living, we are living, and we will continue to live forever. This is the first kind of knowledge that we must all be having. Sometimes people ask us that, why has Krishna given us so much of suffering? So we keep talking about the body and soul and how the body is suffering and we should get out of the suffering. If Krishna is really Father or the Supreme Lord and he's such a well-wisher, he wants the good of all his children, why did he put us into this dark material world, into this darkness of ignorance? So the answer, as we all know, it is not that Krishna who put us into this material world, it is we who chose to be in this material world. And people sometimes blame the Lord, why has he given us suffering? Actually, number one, we chose to be in the material world, and number two, we are purposefully choosing suffering. Actually, there is enough information available that there is suffering and we should not associate in this, we should not associate in the material way in this world. Just like Prabhupada gives a very nice example. Suppose you touch your finger, you touch fire with your finger, and then you blame the fire, why has the fire burnt me? Is that a sound proposition? Everyone knows that fire will burn. And then if you can't blame the fire, why have you burnt me? In the same way, suppose, you are living as a good citizen in this country, in this city, and then you don't pay your taxes. And then the government officials will come and they will fine you. And then you blame the government. Why have you fined me? No, enough information is available that if you're earning, if you're making a living, you have to pay your taxes. You can't blame the government. In the same way, Krishna is telling us this material world is like an abyss of ignorance. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanu darshanam. Krishna is certifying this material world as a place full of suffering, as a place full of miseries. So we don't listen to Krishna, we do not take to Krishna's instruction. We engage in materialistic activities, in the activities of sense gratification, and then you blame the Lord, why has He put us into this suffering? It's not right. Krishna has already given us all this information. So here Devahuti is praying. She's telling the Lord, my Lord, I've fallen into this abyss of ignorance. Please relieve me. So this is the first kind of darkness, darkness of knowledge. And the second kind of darkness is very simple, the real darkness. This material world actually is dark. Right? That's why you need the sun, you need the electricity, you need the moonlight, you need all different kinds of lighting. So, and even this Prabhupada in one place says that, I'm forgetting one word Prabhupada uses, that how he's basically saying how this, whatever we know that this light that we have is all temporary. The real light is in the spiritual world, artificial, right? Prabhupada uses the word, this lighting that is in this material world is also artificial lighting. Including the sun, he's saying it's an artificial lighting. Because we understand artificial lighting to be only electricity. But Prabhupada says sun, moon, electricity is also artificial. Why? The point of reference is something else. Why artificial? Because the sun is also, it's a material existence. And finally, and you don't have the sun also always. And finally the sun will also, the light of the sun is also temporary. It's not permanent, it's not eternal, and everything will be destroyed. In that sense, Prabhupada is saying everything here is artificial. And that's why if we engage in the artificial things in the material world, then there will be sufferings. There will be some amount of happiness, but will be followed by suffering. Yesterday's class we heard. So, if we have to get out of the suffering, get out of this abyss of ignorance, of this darkness, both of knowledge and other kind of darkness, what do we need? How do you dissipate darkness? You have to bring in the presence of light. There is no need, you can't throw out darkness. Darkness, please go. You have to bring in light. You have to bring in knowledge. And that knowledge is in the spiritual world. That's why the Vedas say, Tamasima Jyotirgamaha. Tamasima, don't stay in darkness. Jyotirgamaha. Progress towards Jyoti, progress towards light, progress towards knowledge. And that is there only in the spiritual world. As we see in the Brahma Samhita, Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti. Yasya Prabha, that light, that knowledge is Prabha, that is emanating from the spiritual world. The entire spiritual world, there is no darkness in the spiritual world at all. There is no day and night as such. It's effulgent, it's bright. It's bright, it's full of knowledge. And that light is emanating from the bodily effulgence of Krishna. So we have to, that's the only way to come out of darkness of the ignorance. We have to take to this real knowledge and go to the spiritual world. Now here, Devahuti is saying, I am very sick of the disturbance. She uses, the word used here is nirvinna. Nirvinna means disgusted. So Prabhupada is using two strong words. One is, she is very disgusted, and then she is saying, I am very sick. And further, the third thing that Prabhupada writes in purport. So in the word-to-word meaning, nirvinna, she is very disgusted. In the translation, Prabhupada translates it as giving different flavors, explaining the word more nicely. Prabhupada says, Devahuti is saying, I am very sick. And further, that's in the translation. And then in the purport, Prabhupada is saying that Devahuti expressed that she was tired. See? This is the qualification needed to actually seriously go towards Jyotirgamaha, to seriously seek about spiritual knowledge. Unless and until we are disgusted, unless and until we are sick of this material world, unless and until we are tired from the engagements in material activity, we will not be really aspiring, we will not become real bona fide seekers, real students for spiritual knowledge. We should be completely disgusted with this material world. Then, in the spirit, then you are intelligent. You are spiritually intelligent. Then only you will have questions. Just like Devati is asking questions from Lord Kapila. So, it's actually a blessing for a devotee who has become little detached in this material world. So a person who is intelligent, two symptoms. Number one, he'll be disgusted, tired. And number two, he will seek after knowledge, real spiritual knowledge. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, he was Keami Keno Amai Jare Tapatroy. This was, sorry, not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sanatan Goswami asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu this. He was also, Sanatan Goswami was disgusted. Keami, who am I? Why? Keno Amai Jare. Jare means this suffering. Jare, inflicted suffering that is being inflicted. Tapatraya. Tapatraya means the three kind of material sufferings. Why is it inflicted upon me? He's asking Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, this is an interesting thing that is coming out in this purport about becoming really tired, disgusted, and sick of the material world. So now, when we become like this, tired, sick, or disgusted of the material world, what is the solution, or what we have to do? We have to approach a person who can take us, who can pull us out from this abyss of ignorance, from this darkness of knowledge, and show us light. And that's what Devahuti has done. She has approached Kapila, his son. Now here, an interesting thing. In one of the lectures, Prabhupada is pointing out, Devahuti is the mother and Lord Kapila is his son. Generally, son takes instructions from his parents, from his mother or father. But here we are seeing it is the reverse. The mother is taking instruction from the son, and the mother is very eager to take instruction from the son. She is not thinking that he's my son, he's my son, I am his mother, why should I take instructions from my son? No, she is not thinking like that. She knows that although he is my son, he is in knowledge. And because he is in knowledge, and because I am in darkness, I need my son to pull me out of this darkness and to give me knowledge. It doesn't matter who he is. So, she is not thinking, she's just, the only consideration for her is, he is in knowledge. So, we all know, Prabhupada points out many times, whether one is a Shudra, whether one is a Brahmana, or no matter who he is, what matters is whether he is in knowledge. And the best example of this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Raya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if you analyze, who was, just compare. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a Brahmana, right? He belonged to the aristocratic family. His father was Jagannath Mishra. His grandfather was Nilamvar Chakravarti. Nilamvar Chakravarti is supposed to be the incarnation of Garga Muni, who did the horoscope, the foretelling for Krishna. And Nilamvar Chakravarti also prepared the horoscope of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, from a social point of view, if you see, he was coming from a very highly elevated family, rich aristocratic family. And he was a Brahmana. Brahmanas means he was the topmost in the social order, and he was a sannyasi, the topmost in the spiritual order. There are 4 social orders and 4 spiritual orders. The 4 social orders are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. The 4 spiritual orders are Sannyas, Grihastha, sannyas, vanaprastha, grihastha and brahmachari. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu belonged to the topmost of both the orders, and he had a rich heritage, family background, very intelligent, scholar, defeated Keshav Kashmiri, and he is going and taking instruction from Ramananda Raya. Ramananda Raya, at that time, he was a Shudra from the lowest social order, and further, he was a Grihastha. Again, Grihasthas are not considered to be, of course, we know what Grihasthas is in Krishna consciousness, if they're following the rules and principles, but by and large. So, a sannyasi, a Brahmana, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, taking instruction from Shudra, from Grihastha. And that too, Ramananda Raya was a politician at that time. He was the governor of Madras. So he was a politician. Chanakya Pandit says, right, that never trust a dash and a politician. Right? So, from him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is seeking knowledge. Just look at that. Why? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knows that Ramananda Raya, although externally, from an external perspective, he may be appearing to be fallen, but actually he is very, very elevated. He was situated on the platform of topmost spiritual knowledge. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took instructions from him. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was instructing Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was also, he was a Nyayi and an impersonalist. And then finally when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya got converted, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to the South Indian trip, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, please go and meet Ramananda Raya. I thought that he's, a Shudra, a Grihastha and things like that, but actually he's a very elevated soul. So that's how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, and of course Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew about the position of Ramananda Raya, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually took instructions from Ramananda Raya. It is said when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking Ramananda Raya to talk about Krishna Katha, Ramananda Raya was hesitating. You see, he was actually very elevated soul. He was very humble, and he was thinking, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is asking me to instruct him, and that too about confidential things about Krishna consciousness. So he was hesitating. He was not wanting to instruct Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forced him, no, you are qualified and you must instruct me. I want to hear Krishna Katha from your mouth. And that time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted this word, Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyashi Shudra Kene Naya Ei Krishna Tattva Veti Sei Guru Haya. Kiba Vipra, you may be very learned. Kiba Nyasi stands for sannyasi, or you may be a sannyasi, the highest order on the spiritual order, or Shudra Kene Naya, or you may be fallen, so as to say Shudra, you may be a Sudra, the lowest social order. But it doesn't matter what you are. A Krishna Tattva Veti, if you know the science of Krishna, then you can become a spiritual master and you can instruct others. So, it is the knowledge that matters, and not from which background he is coming, how rich or poor he is. Prabhupada gives another example. Just like if you need some consultancy or you're fallen sick, say you want an engineer's consultancy, or you want to approach a doctor, or you want to approach anybody to consult, you will just see whether that person is qualified in that field. Just like sometimes when we go to see a doctor, we don't see whether this doctor comes from a Shudra family or from a Brahmana family, or of course in Kali Yuga the things are different, but we don't see what background the doctor is coming from. Whether it's coming from a rich family, from a poor family, from this background, from that background, we only see he has an MBBS degree. If he's qualified, if he's got an MBBS degree, he's qualified to instruct about Krishna. And he's qualified. So this is the most important thing. So there's a verse, Chanakya Pandit also says, he's explaining the same point very nicely, how, this is from his Chanakya Niti, which Prabhupada quotes, Vishadapi amritam grahayam. Vishad means poison. Amritam grahayam. You should accept nectar, amrita. Nectar is very valuable, even if it is in a pot of poison. Finally, you're getting nectar, and that's what is required. Don't think that it is lying in a pot of poison. Amedhyad api kanchanam. Amedhyad means an impure place. Generally, if anything is lying in an impure place, we will not pick it up because that's a very dirty place. But if gold is lying in an impure place, will you not pick it up? Oh, we'll all be rushing to pick up that gold. We don't see the impurity. We see what we are getting, and that is the gold. Same way, Nichadapi Uttamam Jnanam. Nichadapi Uttamam Jnanam. This is the point. Nichad means a fallen person, a person. Nicha. Nicha Jati means a fallen, a Shudra. Uttamam Jnanam. If he has some good knowledge, good instruction, then we should take it. We should accept the knowledge, even if it is coming from a person who is fallen. And Sri Ratnam Dushkuladapi. Sri Ratnam Dushkuladapi. Sri Ratnam means a qualified woman. I know, jewel is, stands for stands for something good. So if there's a good woman coming from Dushkuladapi, from a low family, she should be accepted. So here, in the same place, in the same way, we see that Devahuti is now asking Lord Kapila to instruct her, and the whole chapter will be like that. Will be, the different glories about devotional service we'll be hearing. And here in the purport, Prabhupada is further mentioning that we are evolving through different statuses of material bodily existence, sometimes in a human body, sometimes in an animal body, and therefore the engagements of our material senses are also changing. Devotional service therefore involves freeing the senses from this contamination. And when the contamination is completely removed and the senses act in the purity of unalloyed Krishna consciousness, we have reached Sadindriya, or eternal sensory activities. Eternal sensory activities are called devotional service, whereas temporary sensory activities are called sense gratification. So here Mother Devoti is saying that she is disturbed because of this temporary sense gratification, and she wants instructions about devotional service. Devotional service is engaging eternally our actual senses, purified senses, in the service of the Lord. And that is what Lord Kapila will now start explaining about the glories of devotional service, and that is what this whole chapter is all about. We'll end here. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanand.